I guess I would do the same thing. I would just let them think that I'm Gina Lola Brigida or whoever. I don't know.
You were. I thought you were. You are. You're the Gina Lola Brigida of the Valley.
Of the Valley.
Yes.
The Valley girl.
It literally has been 30 years of me trying to deny, like trying to be the good. This is exactly it. Trying to be the good guy. Oh no, it doesn't bother me. Bless his heart.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I'm not the real one. I'm not the famous one.
I bet that he gets questioned.
Stop it.
Right.
Stop it.
It would be kind of funny though, right?
Sure.
You, Mark, from Temptation Island and Antique Roadshow.
Yeah. I'm sure it takes up as much bandwidth in his world as it does in mine.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to For Crying Out Loud. I have a guest in studio. He's my co-host for the day, smiling ear to ear because he's such a pro. He's a TV veteran.
That's what I am.
Yes, that's what you are.
I'm a TV veteran, but in the podcast world, I feel like I just got to call up to the majors. So I'm hoping I throw a couple good innings here and I stay up for longer than a cup of coffee.
Thank you. Well, you were kind enough to step in for Stephanie. Our girl has the COVID. Yeah, she is down and out.
Like really feeling terrible?
Yeah, she's really feeling bad. So, so she's
Sorry to hear that.
got the day off.
Sorry to hear that, but really grateful she's sick so I could be here.
I know.
So let's just
Very grateful for you to step in. And then I have Olga, our nanny, coming on Friday's show. Yeah.
Well, so the lineup this week.
That's right.
I mean,
right?
I'm surprised I didn't get bumped for Olga the nanny.
No.
That reminds me, Olga
She
the
was hard
nanny
to book.
is a vision in my head of what that person looks like.
Right.
And if I could digress.
Yeah.
When we were in New York doing my talk show, which you're aware of.
Yes.
And we had a almost 3-year-old and a brand new baby, and we were interviewing for nannies. And I came back from the studio, and on the couch is the nanny my wife has hired. I had nothing to do with. And she's wearing ripped jeans that are painted on tight. She is a buxom blonde from Sweden, like literally cast out of Penthouse to be the nanny.
Wow.
And I walked in and made no comment. And Robbie looked at me, looked at the nanny, and she was fired by the end of the day. She was probably great, but I asked Robbie what experience she had. She said she worked at her father's garage in Sweden.
In Sweden.
And that was it.
Well, I think Robbie probably feels very secure.
Well, she did until I walked in the house, and
I
knew better than to say anything. I didn't say a word.
Yeah.
So
wow.
She gone.
Well, my Olga is a Guatemalan. She's from Guatemala. She's very motherly. Well, she's great. She's great. Well, I never tried to hit on her though, but
it doesn't take much to paint a picture for the misogynist that lays deep within all of us.
I know.
But I'd like to meet Olga.
Yeah, she's sweet.
I'll listen to the episode.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. Okay, so let's say hi to our peeps first. Dick is still frolicking in the sand. Ashley is so chic. Kelly la-di-da. Katie's rolling on E. Which we'll get into. Yeah. Now, Aaron, who dis? And Nikki, call your girls. Leslie is accosting people. Okay. Still outside of Petco this time. She's accosting people.
All right. Is that her post?
That's her. That's kind of her. Yeah. She roams around the valley, actually. Jacob is very growly, but we love him. Rita Bassiette. Elizabeth Williamson has a ton of kids, but we love all of them, some of them. Athena Ginchard, we love your dancing. Polly, we love your pancakes. Valerie hits it out of the park. Fenwick, Katarina, check that molar. Gabby and Missy still up to no good, but they got a job now. So Ishan Vashpe still hot. Rebecca Lubin, so cute. Kelly Branch, your aunt. She'll take you to Planned Parenthood. Alicia Escalante. Leslie is still coughing. Stephanie's a stinker rinker, and she's giving her shout out to Planned Parenthood this month.
Okay,
which is
but
nice.
do you know what this sounds like to me?
What does it sound like to you?
It sounds like in World War II when like Tokyo Rose would do coded messages.
I cannot believe you just said Tokyo. Okay, I'm almost done.
Do you know what I'm talking about though? The Eagle is in the grocery store on Tuesday.
I know what you're talking about because this is so weird that you said that. Okay, Stephanie, Stefano, Aaron Sands, she's a dirty Sanchez, Jennifer Falls, get up, Sandra, it's not easy being green, and Krista, you make me want to stroop. Okay, this is crazy. I was talking to my sister on the phone last night, and she was telling me that she was hearing music inside her condo, but she'd go outside, and then the music would stop, but when she came inside, and she was like, so it turned out her next door neighbors were playing music loud, but they share a wall, right? And she says, I felt like I was, what's the woman that was doing the messages and in World War II to torture? And I was like, I don't know what you're talking about. And she's like, oh my God. She's like, Rose something. Yeah. And I Googled it and I go, Tokyo Rose. And she's like, thank you. She was trying to think for like 5 minutes. Finally, I just Googled like,
isn't that funny how that happens, though? Like
that's
a word you may never have heard before, or a phrase that you haven't thought of in years, and then it pops up and then shows up like 5 times in the next week.
Yeah, that's insane.
That's like Matrix shit to me.
I can't wait to tell her that you come out of the gate saying Tokyo Rose.
World War II, guns a-blazing.
Yeah, that's insane.
Yeah.
Kaylin, you don't know Tokyo
No,
Rose.
I have no idea.
No, this is a boomer reference.
Right, I know.
During World War II, young Kaylin, as propaganda, the Japanese had a radio personality named Tokyo Rose who would broadcast on airways that our troops, American troops, could hear. And she would say subversive things like, okay, GI, or Joe, whatever they call you. Right. You know, I know you're hungry in Iwo Jima. I'm doing like mixing up wars now.
Yeah.
But it was all just kind of mind fucking stuff.
Mind fuck.
And then we did through Radio Free Europe or armed services forces, we would broadcast, and they would broadcast these phrases that made no sense, but they were coded messages that would say, the apples are on sale on Tuesday. And that was supposed to mean we're going to land at Omaha Beach on Friday.
Well, I didn't know any of that.
Yeah. By the way, the amount of fucked up information I just gave, like that's not accurate, but I think that gives you the idea.
Yeah, that gets you the idea.
Yeah.
That's insane that you just said Tokyo Rose. That's fucking insane. Anyway, Mark, so happy to have you here. Let's talk. Hi, Mark.
Hi.
It's so funny. Didn't I send you that picture I found of us?
Yes.
From the NAPI convention.
Yes.
Which is, I think I posted it in our Facebook
Can you
page.
be clear about that? That it's the NAPI convention and not the NAPI convention?
Right. It's the national.
Not that we wouldn't attend both of those, whatever they are.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Well, my hair does get very kinky curly.
Yeah. Yes,
it's the National
Association of Television and Production Executives.
Yes. Wait. What's the A though?
There is
National Association of
Television Production.
Yeah,
Executives.
you're right. Okay.
It used to be where all syndicated shows were sold.
Right. Yes, that I know.
It used to be a big fucking party.
Yeah, we used to go every year. My company, we'd go every year, and then
you were the gatekeeper.
I was the gatekeeper. Yes, that's when I just started working in showbiz.
I know.
I was just.
I saw it happen.
I know. I was like a fresh, young little chicken.
You were the talk of the booth. Are you kidding? Like, people showed up to our booth because you were at the reception desk.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
That is where I saw Jerry Seinfeld, too. But I met him later. But anyway, because I dated him. But anyway, but yes, we were doing the Mark Wahlberg talk show.
I was.
Yeah, you were. And you were the talk of the town.
We were handing out decks of cards.
Oh, yeah.
That were, my face was a Mark Wahlberg deck, and then there was a Loveline deck.
Right. Yeah.
Because Adam and Drew.
Right. We did Loveline. That's how we met.
And that's how you guys met.
Yeah. Were you there at the same time with Adam?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, my God. That's so crazy. Mm-hmm. Yes, you were, because I was looking it up, and your TV show was 95, 96, 95. I met Adam in 95.
It was that nappy.
And the night I met him, he goes, are you going to that television convention in Vegas next month? And I was like, yeah, I'll be there. Yeah. But that, yeah. So anyway, that's crazy.
Craziness.
A
lifetime ago.
So you have 2 kids that are grown.
So grown.
And you were just talking about before the mics heated up, as they say in the business.
Is that what they say?
That's what they say. Yeah. Just ask me anything, Mark. I'll tell you.
Yeah. Thanks.
And so you were talking about going to see the Grateful Dead at the Sphere.
Yeah, so my son had just retired from the Navy, which is a long story that I'm not at liberty to talk about.
Okay. All right.
But it is a an incredible story.
That's nice.
Anyway, and so while they're in Norfolk, he and his wife, and they're going to move to California. This is way too much backstory. But before he has to do anything, he wants to take a huge motorcycle trip. So he's going to ride his motorcycle from Norfolk up through Michigan, across the UP, down through Wisconsin, and then park it in Chicago for service, fly to Vegas to see the last weekend of the Dead & Company at the Sphere, and said, "Do you want to go, Dad?" And the truth is, when he called, I'm sitting on the couch going, I don't want to go to the backyard right now.
Right.
But I think this is one I can't miss. So I'm going. I think Mark DiCarlo. Do you know Mark DiCarlo?
Yes, I know Mark DiCarlo. Yeah.
He's going, which adding that wrinkle means that
It's so funny that you guys have been friends all these years.
Yeah.
That's nice.
And have a storied past when it comes to the Grateful Dead in Las Vegas and mushrooms.
And mushrooms.
Yeah. And so, so that's going to happen. So it's going to be Morgan, my dear friend's son from the camping trip. Remember I told you about the camping trip on that episode? Yep. So Graydon, my best friend's son that they grew up like cousins, he's going to come. And Mark DiCarlo is coming. And because I've invited Mark DiCarlo, an unspecified number of strangers may also show up because he tends to do that.
Is he married?
He's married.
Oh, he's married. Okay.
Yeah. Very happy to a very successful woman, Yenny Alvarez, who is a big voiceover star.
Really?
In Spanish-speaking world and English-speaking. She's
nice.
Really
that's great.
A wonderful person.
That's great. Good for him.
I love her.
Yeah, that's nice.
Yeah, so that's happening.
And you mentioned shrooms.
No, I didn't mention shrooms. He mentioned shrooms. And the backstory is that when I was in Vegas to see the Dead in like 2000, I don't even know, 1998. I don't remember. It was a famous Dead show because a storm came over and threatened the whole thing, and the band started playing the storm. It was really a great thing. But that was with Mark, and he gave me shrooms, and I ate them, and Robbie was with me, so I felt safe. But I tripped so hard that he brought a camera and he videotaped me, and it's been held over my head for 25 years because I was so gone.
Really? What were you seeing? Were you hallucinating?
Mm-hmm.
And wow.
Oh yeah, like everything came. And to me, being as heady as I am,
happens.
That's what happens.
Yeah, apparently that's.
But now microdosing stuff doesn't.
So I macrodosed.
You did.
Like gobbled a salad full of not these cute little chocolate things the kids have today, but actual mushrooms. Grown out of somebody's cow pie shit.
Oh my God.
And I sat there for an hour with my wife going, yeah, nothing. And then in 3 seconds, I was in the fetal position. Oh my God. And then she's walking me around. And the thing about mushrooms is that you remember everything later. It's not like I was so fucked up, I don't even know what I said. And I was having epiphany after epiphany. And I'm like, the problem with people is that we don't touch one another. So I'm walking through she's walking me like a dog because I can't sit still. And I'm going out to everybody and I'm like petting them, like, good to see you. And then some people were in my trip and some people were not. It was like certain characters were cut out. And then every now and then one of the characters would turn around and go, I'm in this with you. I'm like, oh.
Well, they say though, like you get kind of lovey-dovey, or you get like you want to touch people, or like you're
that's
happy.
That's the Molly E experience, from what I'm told.
Right.
I don't know.
I've never done that.
I did ecstasy once at a dead show before it was Molly, whatever that was, and I didn't do a lot, and it didn't really affect me, except at one point Robbie's like, "Do you feel anything?" Robbie's sober, so for her vicarious, it's like fun to do that. And she said, "Do you feel anything?" I said, "Nope." Except a sudden urge to hug that biker over there, which I then did.
You did?
Oh, yeah. But that's not a stretch for me anyway.
Right?
Like, I don't really need E to have an excuse. Like, it's hard for me not to hug Kaylin when I walk in every day.
I know.
But I sense that's crossing the line at this point in our relationship. But I do want to just hold him all the time.
You do?
Yeah.
I know. He's so lovable.
Yeah.
Wow. But do you do any of that microdosing now?
No. So I did this one experience
and now
at the turn of the century.
Right.
And I'm still trying to figure it out.
Right.
And it was amazing. Like, it was, once the first 45 minutes of panic of what have I done to myself, and why do my hands keep disappearing every time I put them in my pockets? Like I don't own them anymore. And why is the mountain moving?
Right.
That stuff.
Right.
It then got to be an incredible journey where I could see, properly dosed, how it would open and expand the mind to get past the fear and ego of things and really have some psychotherapeutic applications. So the microdosing concept, as it is shared with me from other people in my life, I'll out my daughter who told me about it. Sorry, Gold. That it really made a difference to access feelings without guilt or pain and
that's interesting.
And to see yourself in a different way. So I get that.
Right.
It wasn't like getting drunk or getting high. It was like going on a journey where things were revealed to you about yourself and others. And then when you were sober the next day or several hours later, you retained that stuff.
Interesting. So, because we recently talked about it on our show. Like, I did shrooms way back in the day, probably, in the 90s or something. I don't know. And it was okay. I mean, I was hallucinating a little bit, loved everybody, but then was sad the next minute, but then loved everybody and happy, then sad the next. It was really roller coaster. And then recently I got the chocolate bar things. My girlfriends and I went out and we did like a couple squares, just like 3 squares or maybe 4, and then we got the giggles. We got it felt like you were like high, because I don't like getting stoned. I used to get stoned when I was a kid. Everybody talks about how, you relax, and then I don't. I have anxiety. I feel like the house is going to burn down.
That's a absolute truth. With weed, is that depending on the strain and this, that, and the other, although I kind of laugh at that. There is a possibility and a propensity towards anxiety as it's coming on before it settles in. And I have had in my life where I remember when I was newly married, my brother-in-law came over and we smoked a joint. I'm hanging out in my house and a lot was going on in my life. I didn't know what was going to happen. And I remember having to lay with my head in my wife's lap for an hour while she stroked my forehead until I kind of chilled. And I
love your wife. She sounds so comforting.
Well, she is comforting.
I love that.
And I guess what happens is it's just a litany of my bad choices that she has to comfort me through. And maybe that's what marriage is.
Yeah.
It basically somebody who will hold your head when you fucked up.
Right.
So a lot of that, she's been there. And
that's
the fact
great.
that she's 40 years sober. So she's great when you do something like that. And she's like, okay, it's just the mushroom. You're going to be all right.
Right.
And she knows exactly what to say. However, with drinking, she's not as tolerant.
Yeah. Oh, no.
No, it's ugly to her. Drinking is ugly to her.
Yeah.
And when I get drunk, which is rare, like every 5 years, whenever I'm hanging out with my son, is when something bad will happen. And her greatest line to me when I'm getting loud and like going for it, she just leans over and says, "Honey, not a good look for you."
Oh.
And then I realized she's right.
She's right. Yeah, that's true. So do you partake in the THC too?
Yes.
Yes.
Quite regularly.
Quite regular. Yeah. A lot of people
but
do.
Not in the recreational way. Like I can't get over my friends who are blunt smokers and they're like the smoke. I'm like, dude, 2 hits.
Right.
3 hits, you're high.
Yeah.
What are you trying to accomplish?
I know. Well, those I think are people that have been getting stoned since forever, since they were kids, and now they're adults. I have male adult friends that are still, we used to smoke pot in high school and stuff, still getting stoned to this day.
Well, same.
But but smoking bong loads.
Yeah, I got it. So that's not my vibe.
Yeah.
My vibe is I didn't realize I was going to just out myself as the Snoop Dogg of game shows. But, look, I don't like to drink.
Yeah.
And, I'll drink socially, but it's not really a high I enjoy.
Yeah.
And, for me at 9 o'clock at night or later when it would kind of wind down, I might go out in the backyard, the dogs come out with me, and I'll have a hit or two off a joint that'll last me
the rest of the
days.
Days.
Yes.
Wow.
Days.
Really? So you can go to sleep and wake up high?
No.
Oh.
What do you think I'm doing? Heroin? No, I take a couple of hits, go to bed at midnight,
Right.
already not high.
Yeah.
And by the way, so that you're clear,
Yeah.
getting high to go to sleep, you don't sleep as well as if you're sober and go to sleep.
Well, that's another thing too. Like
You think you do.
Right.
You don't remember your dreams. You think you're out, but you wake up. The truth is, if you smoke weed, you wake up a little more tired and groggy than if you don't smoke weed. The problem for some, and why weed is helpful for some, especially the gummy thing, is to shut down the monkey mind enough for you to fall asleep. It's not a problem for me. I can fall asleep with or without. It's not that.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Are you waving at me?
No, he wants me to take it.
I thought you were like, don't say monkey mind.
Trying to get Lynette's attention.
Okay. So we talked about, we talked about a lot since.
We talked about
Tokyo Rose, shrooms, drugs.
and World War II.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we've covered,
Hey,
several decades.
okay. So one of the things I wanted to talk to you about is, Stephanie and I have 18-year-old. Well, her daughter's a year older. Our kids are going off to college.
Oh,
Mine are 18, boy-girl twins.
Talk to me, girl.
I know.
I've sent 2 children away.
That's what I wanted. Yes.
And now I'm in a different chapter. I'm the next chapter past you, maybe 2 chapters past.
Are your kids married?
One's married, one's living with a dude.
Okay.
That we love, but no pressure. I mean, you guys, whatever you need to do.
Yeah.
Love you, Tucker. Yeah, so we're there.
So you're there.
But seminal moment was my firstborn moving out for college.
Really? See, now I have boy-girl twins.
Oh.
So they're both leaving at the end of summer. And
Are they going to the same place or different places?
different. She's going to Santa Barbara. He's going to Oregon.
Well,
So
both are not terrible.
They're not terrible. Right.
Mine went East Coast.
Thank
Well,
God.
my son went. My son went to a military college in Virginia.
Oh, really?
So he wasn't just going away; he was going to a place where he couldn't come home for the first year,
right.
and we had very little access to him. Like it wasn't like
Yeah.
texting and talking all day.
Right.
And then my daughter went straight out of high school to Washington, D.C. on scholarship to the Washington School of Ballet. So she was now not only away from us, but not in a college situation where I could go, oh, she's got a meal plan, she's good. She was in an apartment with 2 other girls in Georgetown having to fend for herself. And so I remember calling my mother after I moved my daughter in
Right.
and saying, I'm just calling to apologize for ever leaving you.
Oh.
Like, how could I have done this to you?
Yeah.
Because the pain was
It's
pretty fucking
it's
great.
painful.
Yeah.
Just thinking about it. But
But you know what the thing is
yeah.
about parenting?
Yes.
I mean,
No.
there's several things, but
What?
here's one of the things. If we do it right, we raise them to do this. We raise them to leave, not to stay.
Yeah, I agree.
And that's the thing that made me want to call my mom is that, oh my God, the selflessness of raising your children to feel strong enough for them to fly out of the nest, even though them flying out of the nest rips your soul apart.
Yeah.
And,
But it is. I mean, of course, you're right. Like it's we raise them to this is what all the 18 years of hard work was for. I mean, a lot of it. But the thing that what's the difference in age?
There are 3 years apart.
Okay, so you had one and then you still had one at home.
Yeah, so my son was a senior in high school and my daughter was a freshman.
Right.
And we had one at home and one gone. And then in short time, they were both gone.
They were both gone.
Yeah.
And so the other thing that I'm struggling, is that
They didn't come back.
And okay, all right. Well, this is what I wanted to ask you because, I'm newly divorced and they live with me full time pretty much. And I love my new life. I love the house that we moved into. It's fun. But now we just moved into this house like a couple months ago. And now at the end of summer, they're going to be gone. And now I'm going to be sitting at my house going.
You and the crickets.
Man, yes. Yeah. And my dog, Phil. I
went through a dark month or two when Morgan, my oldest, left. Goldie was still there, but, the thought of either child, but him being first, like him going. And when he went, his first semester, when you're at this military college, you can't communicate. It's like you're really gone.
Yeah, I bet.
And I went through a lot of like, who am I now?
I could
if
not
I'm not the
imagine.
guy who goes to his baseball game, if I'm not the guy who, is daily counsel, and you know what I mean?
Right.
Who the fuck am I now?
Yeah.
And so that emptiness was a little difficult at first.
That's got to be hard to not really have any contact.
So I then turned all my focus to smothering my daughter.
Yeah, I bet she
And then
loved that.
No, I mean,
Yeah.
I'm now at a place where I'm looking back at my parenting, and especially having watched the Olympics, I'm looking back at how I was as a coach to the kids and what I thought was important then that is not important to me now. And so I'm racked often with self-doubt of how I handle the parenting journey. But if I'm going to love myself a little bit, given the inexact science of it, I think there are more wins than losses there. Mm-hmm. And what I always say to all of my parent friends who are going through this stuff is that the pain of them leaving is the joy of them succeeding. And
That's good.
And the only thing from this point forward that matters as the chapters start to unfold in front of you, and I've had some chapters, is if you're talking, you're okay.
Right.
If there's communication between you and your kids, then you're good. Even if the communication isn't agreement,
Yeah.
but silence and distance, emotional distance,
Right.
is the red flag.
Yeah.
And any talk, even if it's "I hate you, Mom,"
Right.
is possibility and connection.
Yeah. That's
now
good.
let's just sob together
I know. Let's
and
hold
have
hands.
Kaylin hold us.
I know. Kaylin, you think because your kids are so little right now that you got all the time in the world. It goes by really fast.
That's what I heard.
Well, the other thing that shows up is that when your kids are little, teenage, it's a little bit less, but we now have a purpose, and it allows us not to look at our own shit because we're busy,
Right.
and it's about their shit. And quite frankly, us layering our childhood and teenage losses on their avenging for us vicariously through their life. If they're successful, that's me successful, and all that stuff. And then in one fell swoop, like kiss them goodbye and move them in the dorm
Yeah.
with the twin size sheet.
Yes.
And then all of a sudden you're left with, who am I?
Right.
And I have atrophied my self-care.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is what it was for
Right,
me. Now
right.
the quiet was like, now I got to sit with me.
Yeah.
And that was a lot.
That's a lot. I don't know if I'm that deep of a thinker like you, Mark.
That's why shrooms are not a good thing for me.
You do. I feel like you, but that's what successful people do, though. I think a little bit. They beat their
It's both
themselves.
success and demise. I call it the rainbow circle you get on your Mac.
Right.
That's my brain
Yeah.
a lot of the time.
Yeah.
like-
Yeah. Yeah. But
It's not that deep.
yeah. Well, I mean, I guess I haven't had time to really think about like you said.
That's what
I
I'm
haven't
saying.
had time to think about myself. I guess, yeah. But I do like I'm doing things like, we're having, weekly Sunday dinners, the three of us, and I'm just trying to have, even just for them to bond too.
Sure.
I
I love that idea, by the way.
Yeah. And then, I'm trying to spend as much time, like, if they need me, sure, I'll go with you to the mall or whatever. I'll do whatever you want, like doing stuff with them and, hanging out with them. The girl is more easier to hang out with right now than my boy has been kind of, would hang out with me a lot and stuff. But now he only comes out of his room if he wants me to watch the UFC fights with him. But I will.
I spoke to chapters
Yeah.
that unfold, and none of them were things I predicted, and some of them were so out of character for who I thought they were and I was.
Uh-huh.
And they present. And again, here's me going way deep.
Uh-huh.
The way I now can look back and even in the moment was able to process is that everything's temporary, relationships are fluid, acceptance of what is greater than forcing it to be what it was or what it should be.
Oh.
And so like I said, the UFC locking his room and coming out for meals and stuff like that. If there's still communication, there's a relationship.
Yeah, that's true.
I literally recently, my wife was providing counsel to somebody, and because I lived there, it rang true for other counsel I've given others, where their adult children found somebody they're into that was polarly opposite to what you thought was right for them. I've lived this myself. And my counsel to them, which was easy for me to say then when I had to take it for myself was not so easy, is the best and only way for this to run its course is for you to accept it fully. Is the only way is to say, I love you, and if this is where you're at, I'm where you're at. Because
even if you don't agree with...
Especially when you don't agree. Because the nature of the disagreement is when I tell you, without being asked, this guy's wrong for you, or that job is wrong for you, then your ego, your child's ego, not yours, but their child's ego, forces them with no out, but to say, I'm staying where, despite what I know is true.
Right.
And while it would be great and healthy for your kids to go, wow, Mom, thank you, your advice is always great, I'm going to follow it. Two things. One is you don't want them to change their course of action because you dictated it, and therefore they're appeasing you, and then they resent you for the rest of your life. And the only way to eliminate that resistance is acceptance.
Yeah.
I love you no matter what. You're going to make some fucked up choices. If you ask me my advice, if you come to me and ask that's the shift for me, is that when they were in high school, I offered advice. I guided them, whether they listened or not. And at some point I got, I'm now an advisory board. If you want my advice, you're going to have to ask me. If you have trouble with each other, you're going to have to work it out. If you want me inserted, you're going to have to ask me or beg me to be there. Because unsolicited advice is not heard.
Yeah. Well, that makes a lot of sense. I love that. That's great advice.
It sucks. Because the journey through that takes longer than you think. So you got a kid, they're in a situation that you know is bad for them. You're watching what you think is important crumble around them when you then later learn that what you thought was important wasn't important either. But nonetheless, you're watching demise. Right? What you think is demise. And then you're having to prescribe to a philosophy which is allow it to happen, allow it to happen, allow it to run its course. Right. And that is really uncomfortable and makes you feel helpless. Wow.
That makes a lot of sense. It's really going to be hard, I think, especially sometimes I see them doing things and like I want to tell them this is not the way to do it. This is going to be the ramifications of it.
I literally said to my kids at one time, if you just do what I tell you, your life will be far less painful. Right. And then I said, why would I rob them of the experience of the pain of life? Heartbreak, disappointment, betrayal, all these things that made us textured, incredible. You look at us. Yeah. We're incredible.
I mean, it all makes, it's common sense, but it's just so hard. It doesn't, right. When you're a parent, it doesn't occur to you. Your instinct is to go the other way.
Your instinct is to jump in front of the bullet.
Yes. It's true.
That you shot out of your own gun.
Right. But yes, our kids, like, it's just, I mean, I think about, I have to say, like, my daughter had a boyfriend a lot throughout her high school years. I freaking love this kid. Nice Jewish boy. Yeah. So sweet to my daughter. So nice. Raised the bar pretty high for her. Yeah. They had to break up because he's going to his college. She's going to her college.
Because it's a high school boyfriend.
Right. And it's a high school boyfriend.
Yeah. Those are the rehearsals.
Yes.
It's a training boyfriend.
I worry, like, I just hope she's never had, like, she doesn't go for, like, the bad boys. She wants to marry a guy like Phil Dunphy on Modern Family. Yes. Yeah.
A lot of people don't. But can I put your mind at ease or actually make you more worried?
Oh, great. Okay.
It's imperative that she gets the chance to fuck up.
Yeah.
It's imperative to stretch it out in these years to then get what she wants.
Yes.
And while I have seen people who have met their love in high school or younger, and that's been their life and perfect, and I love that. And it's an argument for prearranged marriage, actually, that I don't make popular. But if you've experienced nothing else, then this is the greatest thing ever.
Right.
And you grow to love. But the point is, our instinct is to protect our children from pain.
Yep.
But that's not protection. That's sheltering.
That's right.
Where we're better used, possibly, is to be the sounding board of everything's okay when things crash and burn for them.
Right.
To reassure them that you're not the first person to go through this, and this will not kill you, and now what?
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Don't go there.
Right.
Because then they run there.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think.
Yeah, you're
Unless
right.
they ask you.
You're right.
It sucks.
It does suck.
It's not. This is like this conversation for you young adults is like birth control. Like, why would I have them?
Right. I know.
But greatest joy,
yeah.
greatest fear, greatest joy.
Yes. Yeah.
Greatest sorrow, greatest joy.
Right. Well, you're lucky that you have a good, partner in life with Robbie. Like it's...
I thought you were talking about Kaylin.
Well, him too. Tell us about your podcast, by the way.
Oh, that old thing.
Yes, let's talk about Bonfire.
You said it. That here we are having just idle chat, and it gets like deep.
Yes.
That's kind of sadly. Why would I? I did a whole thing about self-talk. It's kind of who I am, I guess. Well, I'm discovering.
Yes, I
thought I was just a comic, like a joker.
No, I watch you on those Bonfire Talks, is the name of the podcast. But yes. I watch you on the Bonfire sessions on Temptation Island, which I'm sure I know a lot of our audience has seen.
Yeah. Thank you.
You are so good. You're like a therapist for these couples.
Yeah, but that's not true. But thank you. So here's the thing. First of all, I never wanted to call the podcast Bonfire Talks with Mark Wahlberg. Kaylin made me.
Kaylin did.
He says, you're just leaning into what is.
Yes.
Which, by the way, I hate that he can hear me say this.
Yeah.
But he has a very pragmatic, non-dramatic way to approach things that makes things very clear.
Right.
And I need that because I overthink, as you can hear it.
Yeah.
So I guess what the podcast for me is not me being your therapist, which I'm not qualified to do, but maybe letting you into what I'm grappling with, which, if people think I come up with something wise or, good advice or these nuggets that people say I come up with, they come from somewhere.
Yes,
and it's not from me sitting on a throne saying I know these things. It's from me trying to ask the questions of why am I uncomfortable? I'm having feelings, and I'm not successful here, and I have cringe moments here, and so the conversation of why is not a question everybody asks. Mm-hmm. And so I thought maybe the podcast might be a place where I could just take life as it comes and joke around with it, but then maybe let you in on the process of how I come up with my philosophy on stuff. Is like it really comes from I'm feeling pain. How do I process why and how and help?
It's so interesting.
and then showing that to others. Hopefully they hear, wait, that's kind of me too, or it's all a fucking mess, and he's a mess too.
Well, but it's interesting because I would find it. So who are you talking to? You have guests. Sometimes you have guests.
I have no idea who I'm talking to. Well, the truth is I've had guests, and I will have guests again, and I've been grateful to have guests. I love that. And you're welcome and love to have you.
Oh, absolutely.
She's on it right now.
You're right. So,
I am.
Just like it's happening now.
Yeah.
But I made a commitment just a couple weeks ago that I was going to take a moment to kind of get my feet really down on this podcast, and I was going to just let it be me and Kaylin to bounce off of for a little while. And here's why. Back to not having answers, but looking for answers. This podcast represents for me a blind spot in my a quiver of arrows, my toolbox.
That's interesting.
Okay, and the blind spot is the constant conversation I have that what I have to say doesn't matter, that I essentially don't matter, that my thoughts, existence, accomplishments, hopes, and dreams are either insignificant or less significant than those I compare myself to. So the cringe for me to show up and do the podcast without a guest is that I'm exposing myself by saying, here's something I think matters. And immediately I feel like, and it doesn't because I don't. So having to sit here and talk about what comes up on my mind and go to the cringe place, like Kaylin said the other day, if you're cringing, it's a good episode, is really an exercise for me to say, hey, regardless of what you think, both of you avid listeners, what I think matters to me. What I'm doing on this episode is me saying to myself, against every cell in my body, I have to say I matter.
Right.
And I know I matter to others.
Yes, you do.
I show up for my family. I'll show up intimately to a stranger on the street if they need me. But do I show up to myself in the same
That's a good
commitment?
question. Right.
And the answer is no, I don't.
You don't.
And so even when people, I think about my whole career, when I would show up to be the warm-up guy for a TV show, and for those of you who don't know what that is, you come into a taping of a TV show, it's relatively boring. They hire a comedian to entertain the studio audience in the breaks.
Right.
I would show up and they say, are you the comedian? Like the producers? I go, no, I'm just the warm-up guy. I didn't want them to think I was a comedian.
Right.
But in fact, and in title and in action, I was being that.
Right.
But I say, I'm not as good as them.
Yes.
So it's a recurring theme for me.
It is.
Of, I'm happy to celebrate your success, but I mean nothing. I'm a blank nothing.
Well, do you feel that you are making a difference in your own mind by doing these podcasts? Do you feel? Have you noticed a change?
Well, it's
a little bit.
Yeah, I cringe more. But that's
it's not getting easier.
No, but I think that's okay.
Yeah, I do.
I think here's what's getting easier for me is processing the self-judgment. That's getting easier. And when I get comments, which are not a lot yet, but when I get them, it warms I get them on Instagram a lot. I get an enormous amount of joy when someone says what you said connected for me. And that I'm also grappling with. Is the joy my happiness for you or my ego saying, oh, I'm so fucking smart? So this is...
It can be both.
And two things can be true at the same time. So the experience, look, from a philosophical standpoint, I come to believe that everything that's happening in your world is somehow generated by you, or at least those things that seem random are happening for you if you choose that to be. And so maybe what I think is a professional reason to do a podcast, because that's what the kids are doing, may not be that at all. It may be about a bigger thing as far as my personal growth. And so what's scary for me is to expose myself intimately in this way, but maybe that's what it's supposed to be for me, to be the next version of me.
Right.
And I'm constantly trying to be the next version of me.
That's amazing. I think that's a great, you can't do anything better for yourself than, really like forcing yourself to do something out of your comfort zone that you don't want to do. That's
here's the thing, Lynette.
That I think takes self-improvement.
When we stop asking questions about why,
yeah,
why am I this? Why is the world this? Why is this? We become that guy we witnessed on the couch that we thought was what maturity looked like. Who has got it all figured out, and this is just what is. And by the way, the world is fraught with that. I know what is. You can't change my mind. And for me, this has always been weird to me, is how can I or anybody walk down the same road as somebody else in your high school, your neighborhood, the whole thing, and have two entirely different experiences? And to me, the difference is some people just are what's the word? Are discontent with status quo and keep asking why, how, why, but why, but why? And others go, I know enough. I'm an asker. I'm not content. I am constantly looking at my own behavior with judgment,
Right.
Unhealthy judgment, and asking why. Why do I feel this? Why is this happening? Why? How can I? Blah blah blah.
Yeah.
And I guess that's what the life's journey for me is a puzzle.
Have you always been like this?
I don't know. I guess.
Really?
I think so. I think
yeah,
so.
I mean,
You know what I was born out of? I always talk about it as born out of this thing that they love to call as being an empath. I think that what happened is my childhood, I was scared a lot.
Oh,
and
you
by the
were?
way, I look back on it and say self-imposed fear. But I was highly sensitive. So I was aware, whether it was spoken or not, that we have financial issues. I was aware, whether spoken or not, that I was Jewish in a world that didn't understand that in the Deep South. I was aware that there were big athletic guys and I was a smaller dude, right? So I was aware of all the emotions around me. So I grew this keen sense of listening.
yes.
Out of survival and protection. We've talked about this. Out of survival and protection. And what is manifest for me is a constant sensitivity towards others and how the relationship, I feel the connection between everyone.
Yeah.
Much deeper. So what I'm trying to grapple with these days is how can I acknowledge what I feel, but bucket that into a healthy interpretation, not they're judging me, I'm judging them. I'm feeling it, that's real.
Right.
And what? And
Right.
how do I behave in a self-aware way that's loving to others and loving to me?
Yeah.
I've got the loving to others part figured out.
Yeah, you do definitely do.
The loving to me part, all of us, is the same as to further the analogy and metaphor. It's the same transition you're going to go through. Is that you know how to be loving and busy for your children, but if they're not there, what do you do now?
Yeah, well,
You get
that's
to do
nice
all
to bring
that
it
parenting
full circle
to you.
to me. Wow. I mean, this is a really great, interesting advice. And by the way, if you want to hear more of all of this great talk, you can listen to that magnanimous Mark Wahlberg
Wow. Okay.
on Bonfire Talks. Well, you are.
Thank you.
You are. And
Thanks. My goal was to be funnier, but I don't know that we're funny all the time. I
no.
think we get some jokes, Kaylin, every now and then out there.
I laughed a couple times. Yeah.
You laugh at me a lot. So I don't know what we're saying, but the absurdity of the struggle is often funny to you, and I really need that. I really need that. So,
But you bring a lot of because you are such an empath. I feel like you bring a lot of levity. You talk about this stuff, but you also, you have a very great disposition.
there's a Jewish thing, culturally, not religiously, that the Jewish sense of humor is born out of we laugh to keep from crying.
Yeah, I've heard. Yeah.
So I don't think that's specifically Jewish. I think it's very Catholic as well.
Yeah.
But I think there's a looking for how to twist the phrase into a funny way to point out the absurdity of the pain of life.
Right.
Is kind of interesting
Yes.
to me.
Well, I always wanted to marry a nice Jewish boy. My dad wanted me to marry a Jewish boy, nice Jewish boy. And he taught me a lot about the Jewish culture. And I've heard that saying from him.
Yeah.
He's a Hollywood guy too, my dad. But well, I mean, Mark, this has just been really
I've had a good
I
time.
love it. I had a great time.
I'm really sorry that Stephanie's sick.
I know, I'm sorry she's sick too, but this was
But I wouldn't be
fun.
upset if it was a prolonged illness so I could come back.
I know.
I want her to be well. But
Yeah. Well, listen, come back anytime. You're always welcome.
Same.
Yes, yeah, thank you.
And thanks for sharing this episode with me.
Thank you for sharing it with me. And Bonfire Talks drops every
Wednesday.
Wednesday.
Is that right?
Yes.
Wednesdays. Which, by the way, means that I wake up every morning on Wednesday
Excited to
cringing.
talk? Oh, cringing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, what did I? Because we record, he edits and posts, and I don't listen until it's can't be taken back.
Oh.
And now it's out there. But lately, on these few episodes we've done recently, which is just you and me, I've listened to them and I actually found myself smiling while listening as though I'm not listening to me.
It's interesting.
And
That's good.
I was like, okay, that feels like growth.
Yeah, definitely. That's
Well, we did a very fun episode. I think it's 2 weeks ago about how Mark has throughout his career gotten confused with the actor Mark Wahlberg.
Oh, that's an everyday occurrence. We talked about that. But again, to Kaylin's benefit, to why he's a genius, I'm sitting here in the weeds. But it makes me feel, but I want to try, and blah, 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 blah. And every time it's a cringe. And he said, what about, you didn't even say with this many words. He said, it's just funny.
It is.
Why don't you just laugh?
Sounds like.
And so that was the homework. And so now I'm trying to have, every episode, I'm trying to have a takeaway that, okay, what's my practice going to be now for the week? And you can join me or not. But the practice that week was every time there's a confusion, every time somebody sends me a DM with a picture of them with their shirt off saying, look, I'm working out. Every time somebody asks me how my hamburgers are.
Oh, my God.
Every time in the street somebody goes, oh, you're not that Mark Wahlberg. You're not the real
God.
Mark Wahlberg. Every one of those now, I get to just laugh out loud. And I've been doing that. And I've been also not correcting them.
Yeah, let them just
let them have it.
Right. Yeah, I would do that. I would
It's
do
not
that.
my problem anymore.
Yeah.
And I got to tell you, Kaylin, it's effort, but it's much better than pretending to be okay with it.
Yeah.
Just pretending to be okay with it.
That's I guess I would do the same thing. I would just let them think that I'm Gina Lola Brigida or whoever. I don't know.
You were. I thought you were. You are. You're the Gina Lola Brigida of the Valley.
Of the Valley.
Yes.
Valley girl.
It literally has been 30 years of me trying to deny, like trying to be the good. This is exactly it. Trying to be the good guy. Oh no, it doesn't bother me. Bless his heart.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I'm not the real one. I'm not the famous one.
I bet that he gets questioned.
Stop it. Stop it.
It would be kind of funny though, right?
Sure.
Are you Mark from Temptation Island and Antique Roadshow?
Yeah. I'm sure it takes up as much bandwidth in his world as it does in mine. Mine is like 80%. Like my hard drive is full of feeling about that. And he's like, yeah, I heard there was a guy.
Well, anyway, Mark,
so yeah, at Bonfire Talks Podcast, please come and subscribe and like and press all the buttons and comment. Please comment.
Yeah.
Although it may hurt my feelings.
You should.
That's why I love listening to you and Stephanie, is that you talk about that, but Stephanie's just a tough, wonderful broad.
Yeah.
And I say that with all love.
Right.
And I love to hear both of you process. Like, you don't hold on to that.
The haters and stuff. Well, I mean, I think I'm used to it because, I was married to somebody for years and I was the wife, the nagging wife, the ex, the whatever, getting blamed for shit. And it's like, they have no idea what they're talking about. They're just so out. They don't know what they're talking about.
What I should say is what really comes up for me is whatever your negative comment is not nearly as negative as what I'm saying to myself. So fuck off. You can't even register at my level.
Yes.
I say it on the basketball court when somebody's saying, you can't play. You suck. I'm like, dude, you have no idea. I can't even hear you right now.
Right.
My level of how I feel about how I suck at basketball is so deep, much deeper than this bullshit you're bringing. So bring an A game here.
Right. Bring your... Well, I think you're wonderful, Mark. I really
think you're
do.
Wonderful.
Thank you. I could talk to you forever, and please,
I feel the same.
Just come back anytime.
Thank you.
I know how to get a hold of you now.
Yeah, I'm just sitting by the phone waiting for a phone call. I'm just thrilled to be part of the FCOL world.
Okay, so I got to do some shout outs that Stephanie usually does. If you're running a small to medium-sized restaurant and feeling overwhelmed by accounting and HR tasks, well, Jennifer Posner, a longtime member of the FCOL community, says, take the stress out of your finances and HR. Visit JD Posner, Posner, businesssolutions.com. There is no S on the end. It's just J. Posner, Business Solutions.
JD Posner.
Did I say, what did I say?
The first time you said JD Posner.
I did.
BusinessSolution.com.
Sorry. Yes. Thank you. See, you're very tuned in. JD Posner, BusinessSolution.com. There's no S at the end of solution, is what she's saying.
Yes.
We also have, let's see, Carrie Keebler. She's justknate.com. It's the guy that does the hug or handshake guy who gives money to the unhoused. I've seen his videos. They're really cute. He just gives hugs and handshakes, and they're really sweet. So you can check him out at justknate.com, and it's KNATE.com is where you find him. We'll do another one. Let's talk about The Family Skeptical. The Family Skeptical is a podcast about raising children with religion. So if you're not of any, a non-believer of any kind or not from any stripe, you're welcome. You are with that. They have one episode every 3 weeks, and it shouldn't really cut into our people's FCOL time. One episode every 3 weeks. It's called The Family Skeptical.
Share that time.
Yeah, The Family Skeptical podcast. And wow, we have a lot. Okay, let's do a couple more. Kelly from Wilma and Frida. So if you're out in the Palm Desert or Palm Springs area for brunch, you can go into Wilma and Frida. We love them. Their food is delicious. We've been there. And if you say that you're there for crying out loud, they'll give you either a free mimosa or a free latte. Yeah. And let's also talk about our girl, Basic Becky, justbasicbecky.com. She's the girl that does all of our T-shirts. If you have anything you want on a T-shirt, mug, mouse pad, anything you want, she's your girl at justbasicbecky.com. And then we also have Adam Lerner. So if you're looking for a car, you need a car broker, he's your guy. You can call him with questions anytime you want. It's Adam Lerner at 310-998-7048 or adamsgotacar.com. He's your car broker. And then ferncandles.com. Our girl Kelsey runs this business. She sent us these candles they smell so good. And they're made by soy, so it lasts longer.
They're made by soy.
Yeah.
They're not of soy.
Of soy.
The soy plant gets together and makes a candle out of different stuff.
Little soy elves.
Yes.
Yes, so she's got, all different smells, and they have great gifts. They make great gifts. So you can go check her out on Insta at Fern Candle is where you can find her. And then my friend, Mike Gerstein, another nice Jewish boy. He's out in Arizona, in Phoenix, Arizona. If you need a plumber or you have any plumbing questions, you can call him. He can talk you through it over the phone. You can go and find him at phoenixplumbing.com, and all his information is right there. Okay, that's it for today. All right.
All right.
Mark, thank you so much.
I say thank you.
We love you. And
I love you too, and we're going to repurpose this on my podcast.
Yes.
So thank you, both of my people, for listening.
Yay.
And we'll see you next week. And anytime you need me.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
We will definitely.
All right.
Anytime you want to come.
Thanks.
Thank you, Kaylin.
Thank you.
Kaylin, you're a parent now.
Don't F it up.
There you go.